So Minky and I watched Lord of the Rings of Power, season 2, episode 2, Where the Stars Are Strange. And it was an episode. It was a good episode. There were dwarves in it, as symbolized by my axe here. So that was fantastic. There were no Numenorians, which also fantastic. However, I know I bitched a lot about if I want the characters and everything, if they're shelved or whatnot. So if there's going to be a Numenorian plot, you need to give me a little bit of Numenorians. But overall, who was in the episode, I was happy with. And I think overall, pretty decent episode. Wasn't as good as the first episode, but still a really solid episode. So it starts out where we kind of see a graphic from where the volcano in Mordor went off, and we see some shooms that go over to Khazad-dûm, and Khazad-dûm basically its light shafts get shut out. And Disa is like, oh shit, I hear it coming, everybody brace yourselves, type thing. And I guess what they're setting up is they need some reason for the dwarves to take Rings of Power, right? So they're like, we're gonna turn all your lights, we're gonna fuck up Dwarven land, how like Elven land was fucked up, and then Sauron or Celebrimbor, somebody's gonna present like, hey, here's some rings, it'll fix everything. That's my guess of how this is gonna work. So throughout the Dwarven plot, we've got Durin and Durin on the outs, and Disa is trying to make Durin talk to Durin, or Durin talk to Durin, and they don't, but there's a letter that comes at the end, which I think is from Celebrimbor that's summoning Durin over to Elysion or whatever to talk about Dwarven rings. That's my guess of where that whole thing is coming. So little Durin will come in and kind of be the savior and get kind of reinstated because he's sort of ousted. So he's impoverished but living in a mansion. I don't know. So that's what's going on in Dwarven world. The Stranger. So there was those horsey people. Horsey people are basically flying the Eye of Sauron for some reason. So they're following the fucking Harfoots, Nori and Poppy, like they hide under a bush and the guy like kicks a snake on them and they're like, fuck, but then he like daggers the snake and the Stranger kind of disappears. The Stranger has been dreaming of a big staff, to, I guess, channel his power. So he passes out because they haven't had any like water or whatnot, and they drag him over to a well, and the well is hooked up to a bell because plot, I guess. So they get him some water, but the water brings the bell, and the horse people come. But the Stranger's like, oh shit, a stick. So he picks up the stick, and he causes a big sandstorm, and it blows those fuckers away, but it blows the Harfoots away too. I'm guessing next episode they're going to have landed on an Ent, because again, Stranger, Gandalf, he's got to know the Ents for some reason, so later on when a Hobbit lands on an Ent, the Ent brings it to Gandalf. That would all track, so that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I'll find out tonight, because the third episode exists already, and I'll put that up tomorrow. So that's him. Also, the guy that he was like, you're a bunch of moths. She was a girl. She was bald. Anyway, she reforms from the moths into a girl again. And there's like I paused it on this on Amazon and just said dark wizard. So there's a dark wizard, and that she's one of his fucking acolytes. And yeah, so she's still in the mix. So there'll be some kind of wizardy battle at some point. So that's where that is. No Numenorians. Let's talk about fucking elves. God damn. The elves, all the actors are so good. This was a good Galadriel episode. I'm coming around this season. I really like Galadriel a lot so far. But the whole Elvis plot was just kind of very circular and turned out to be kind of dumb. So Galadriel goes to Gal Gadot and she's like, hey, I want to go to Elysion to tell Celebrimbor that fucking Sauron is Halbrand so he doesn't fuck up. And Gal Gadot's like, no, you cannot do that. I forbid it. And then she like talks to like Elrond, and Elrond's like, you know what? We are not cool anymore. And she's like, okay, that sucks. And then Elrond talks to Sindar or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I don't really trust these rings. And he's like, let me tell you about poetry. So you should trust the rings. And he's like, I don't know if that tracks. So that's kind of the initial thing. Then, 10 minutes later, like, Gal Gadot's coming to Galadriel and is like, you know what you should do is go to Elysion. And Elrond's like, maybe I should give these rings a chance and Galadriel a chance. And then he ends up at the end being like, I will lead you to Elysion. So it was like they kind of set all this stuff and undid it all in the course of an episode. So it was just, maybe that should have paced out a little longer, because it was just like very whip-lashy, because we're like, are we, aren't we? Yes. So that was the elves. Let's talk about Celebrimbor. So Celebrimbor, you know, in the lore, we'll get into that really quick. Celebrimbor's like a badass, right? He's like one of, like, if you made a list of elves that were the most awesome, he would be right near the top of that list. And they kind of make him like a gullible little bitch boy in Rings of Power, but whatever. So at the end of last episode, Halbrand showed up as Halbrand. Halbrand was like, oh, I can't treat with you. So he sends out his underling, is like, go tell that dude I will not talk to him. So she does, and then Halbrand's like, nah, I'm gonna stay here. And she comes back and she's like, he's not gonna leave. And Celebrimbor's like, okay, whatever. And then it rains, and he like looks out the window and he's like, I bet Halbrand's really cold out there, so I'm gonna come out with an umbrella and go, hello, I will not talk to you. And Halbrand's like, you're talking to me now, dude. So they talk, and then basically Halbrand comes up with Celebrimbor, and Celebrimbor is like, you know, there's no way that I could accept your help unless you were some kind of angel. And Halbrand's like, you know what? Actually, I am some kind of angel. I am Annatar, the Lord of Gifts. And I am here to gift you power and wisdom and knowledge to make rings, to empower Sauron to take over the whole of Middle-earth. And Celebrimbor is like, oh, let me kiss your fucking feet, dude. So, kind of weird. So let's see. So that was the Stranger. That was Decent Durin, that was Celebrimbor, that was the elves. Am I forgetting anything? There was the staff, Harfoot, boom. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that is everything. The mountain stopped like talking to Disa, so there's no more like stone singing. So, you know, the dwarven society is kind of falling into darkness. So that was kind of the big probably step forward that this episode is going to do. But there were dwarves, and dwarves kick ass. And next episode, I'm guessing there will be an Ent.